So I'm Seth. This is Daniel, and Simon is our cameraman. We are here to talk to you about imperialism, which was a very influential expansionist idealism that was used by almost all of Europe during the time of the 19th century. Imperialism is the gaining of markets and materials through formation of empires on outside nations. These Western European nations are the examples that we have, but today we're going to focus solely on France through the eyes of Jules Ferry and his influence on imperialism.
Jules Ferry, being the Prime Minister of the Second Republic of France, converted the nation to imperialism because he wanted to restore the nation's greatness and show its true power. He did this by conquering his main target, which was Africa, and formed trade routes in order to gain materials and outside supplies. So his main quote for that was the superior races have a right vis-a-vis the inferior races. They have a right to civilize them. Jules Ferry pretty much is stating that the main philosophy behind imperialism was to bring the culture of the home country to the foreign estates.
Some of the key aspects of the three forms of imperialism were direct rule, indirect rule, and informal rule. And we're going to get into that right now. Direct rule was annexing territories outright and subjugating their people for labor. This was usually through a military force. The example we have for France was Algeria. Algeria started something over a money dispute. France was offended by this and jumped on this opportunity to invade Algeria. They took over the nation and eventually conquered all of it. Through this, they used the direct exploitation of Algeria to further French ideals.
Indirect rule, which was government ruling outside of the nation, usually involved with places such as Madagascar. In Madagascar, the main rules and principalities were done under a treaty by the prime minister. Through this treaty, they were able to create a major trade market, which involved 3/4 of trade to Madagascar and under France.
For informal rules, it was imperialism by influencing outside of that nation without new local leaders. One of our great examples was Tunisia. The nation got into severe debt and had to make peace with France. France, therefore, had new trade rights and new abilities within that nation to influence their foreign policy. So all of this is to say, so what? Why is imperialism important? Why is Jules Ferry important? Well, the imperial ideals caused for a major boom in resources and markets of the various Western European nations. Jules Ferry furthered this agenda through his idea that Africa must be civilized. Divisions of these countries stayed the same till around the halfway point in the 19th century, showing that political divides from the 19th century moved on into the mid-20th century.
Unfortunately, the implications of imperialism included that it destroyed the resources of Africa and competition bred exploitation to other nations. This ultimately showed how imperialism had a detrimental side as well as a positive economic side.